On today's show, we're going to have a reselling conversation with a Poshmark seller whose closet has nearly 250,000 followers. What is up, Galaxians? Welcome to episode number 200 of the Galaxy CDs, Rocks, and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. My name is Ryan, and I will be your host for what I hope will be a very interesting conversation. We're going to delve into something today that I know virtually, let's be real, I know nothing about fashion, accessory sales, and Poshmark. And I'm super excited to be joined today by someone who's been selling for over 10 years, has over 6,500 listings over there, and as I said, over 221,000 followers. Please give a warm Galaxian welcome to Annette from Excess Baggage. Hello, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm super honored to be part of this. I can't tell you, your show is amazing. I just have so much respect for the work that you do every week. And it's become a touchstone for me weekly to hear what is the new Galaxy CD podcast have to say this week. So thank you. And thanks for having me.
I appreciate that very much. You're on social media, you know the struggle. You work and you do all this stuff and hope that it resonates with people, but you're never quite sure. So it's always nice to hear, and I very much appreciate it. If you could just take a couple of minutes and let everybody know kind of who you are, where they can find you on the socials and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram. I started TikTok a little while ago as well. I mainly sell on Poshmark, as you mentioned already. I also sell on some other platforms like Etsy, Grailed, a little bit on eBay, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. And Poshmark is really my main moneymaker, my main platform, if you will. I also sell on Depop. I'm starting to get more into that platform. I have a Facebook group that's called Excess Baggage, believe fix flip, some combination of that, where we talk about like fixing and flipping bags and leather accessories. And that's really what my platform and my Facebook page is about, and my Instagram platform. I talk about reselling accessories, fashion accessories, mainly bags, but also shoes, and anything that falls under the accessory category in fashion. So hats, scarves, cold weather, that sort of thing. And it's a lot of leather rehab as well. And that all comes from my background as a handbag designer. That's what I went to school for, and I worked in the fashion industry for 10 years before sort of like switching gears and coming into reselling full time. And then I still do design on the side, but it's much more on a freelance basis. And it's not my main source of income anymore. So my platform has really just become about sharing all that knowledge in studying to become a accessory designer. You know, I did fashion history, fashion sociology. It was a very well-rounded education. And I share that on my platform on Instagram mostly. And I feel like it's just like all kind of come together. It's given me a great edge being a fashion reseller. I do sell clothing. That is a big part of my business, but it's not what I talk about on my social media platforms. I felt like there was enough resellers talking about flipping clothing and fashion, and they already do such a good job, but there really wasn't anybody talking about how to flip bags and accessories exclusively, what brands to look for, what makes one more expensive than the other. You know, what do you do if you find one that's kind of an iffy condition, but you know, it's a great brand, you want to flip it. How can you restore it or fix it so that you can resell it for a great profit? I talk about all of that on my social media if anyone's interested.
Awesome. That's a lot going on.
Yeah, I'm a little busy.
I no doubt. How do you get to a point where you've got nearly a quarter of a million followers on Poshmark? That when I went to your page and I saw that, I was like, "Holy cow, that is amazing!"
You make that sound so impressive, and it's really not that impressive. I've been selling casually on there since I think like 2015, and I really started going hard back in like 2020, 2019, around that time. And I have to give a lot of credit to my Poshmark bot, Posher VA. I have an affiliate link for that in my bio if anyone's interested. That does a lot of like auto following and auto unfollowing now for me. And like a lot of Poshmark features, they don't really mean that much in terms of like making sales. So it sounds super impressive, but it's really not that impressive.
See, way to make me look like a fool for.
No, no, no. You were very dear for saying that.
So talk to me about the whole virtual assistant thing, because I see that being. It seems like it's a lot more prevalent for
hmm
people who sell on Poshmark. I assume that's because of the big social aspect of the site, the sharing of the closets and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. Walk me through how that works.
So on Poshmark, in order to show up at the top of the search feed, you need to share your items. And so when I started, I, like many other people, was like, gosh, this takes a lot of time and I don't have the time to do this, but I have to do it in order to make sales. So what can I do? And I started immersing myself into the community and learning from other people. And bots were just gaining popularity at that time. And it was still very like, nobody's talking about it. It's technically not allowed on the platform. Um, Nobody's admitting to using a bot. But then I later discovered behind the scenes, like everybody was using a bot.
So what has Poshmark done about that? Are they still like anti the bots, or have they kind of thrown in the towel and said, we already know everybody's using them, so it's fine?
I think officially they're against them, but unofficially they have thrown in the towel because everyone's using them. And if they were to expel everyone using them, they would really kill their user base.
Right.
There's also been a lot of loud vocal criticism from other resellers in the community, especially women, because this platform is known for kind of being geared towards women. That, if you are trying to really be supportive of women running their own businesses and being posh bosses, this is not conducive to, like, it's not sustainable for someone to do every day. It doesn't make sense. Some people claimed that they were paying other people to sit and share their closets all day, and that was a whole fiasco for some people. I never did that. But people said, you know what, you should allow automation on your platform because it's required to make sales, and no one can feasibly sit all day and share their closet 5 times a day. Um,
Right. How would
so
you get anything else done? I mean,
you
how would
can't.
you get out to source new stuff and, fix stuff and take the pictures and do the listings? And if you got to sit there and share, you got a closet with 6,500 items in it. I mean, you'd be living there doing that.
I think it is a problem that has gotten out of control from the initial Poshmark vision. I think when they designed this, they saw, people using it as a way to sell a couple of things from their house and not as a full-time business. And
Yeah.
this is my biggest criticism of Poshmark to this date, is that they have not yet embraced the people on the platform making a full-time income and wanting to make a full-time income on there. I wish they would give us some distinction so that when people were shopping, you could tell, like, oh, this is just a person selling a couple of things, and oh, this is a small business essentially
Right.
selling on the platform, because it makes a big difference in terms of um, the effort that goes into the listing, the kinds of offers that you can accept, why some buyers don't understand, that I'm not going to drop what I'm doing and go sort through my bins to find answer to one of your questions about, like, the thigh measurement of a pair of pants, let's
Right.
say. Like, and then you're going to make me a lower offer. Like, I've put in more time on the listing and now
That's
I
my
need to
favorite
accept.
thing ever. when somebody asks you a million questions and they send you some lowball offer.
It's really, yeah, it's not good etiquette in my opinion, but all that to say that they're still not clear on how well they support the people on there who would consider themselves business owners, small businesses, and are reselling full time. I hope they do in the future. They were recently bought out, as you know, and I think we're going to see a lot of interesting things coming because of that. One of them you already talked about recently in an episode, which was they are trying to do a promoted listings for beta in beta right now. I
Are
think that's their answer to Poshmark bots.
really?
I think they're not necessarily mad that people are using bots. They understand that it's really not feasible to share all the time, but I think they are mad that they're not getting their share of the profits because you do have to pay for those services. Um, I don't know. It's just a personal theory. I could be totally wrong, but I do feel that promoted listings beta for them is just a total cash grab, of them wanting to see, people are willing to pay for a uh,
Sure.
bot. Why wouldn't they be willing to pay for promoted listings? Um, I don't
Well,
think
and
it's going to work.
yeah, I think that's probably would be true if it became just one or the other. If they got rid of the social sharing aspect of it and just went with you can either promote your listings or not and let the cards fall where they may. But like you say, I don't see them doing that. I see them stacking all that stuff. That's eBay is notorious for that. Have their fees and then promoted listings and now promoted listings advance, and they just keep adding on their. I sell in books, obviously, and when I first started doing promoted listings, the recommended rate was like 5 and 6%. Now every time I go in to promote, they're asking for 10%, which I just refuse to do. But you can see the same thing happening over there. They're going to get a taste of that money, and it's just going to get more and more and more. Are you in the beta? Are you doing the promoted listing
I was
deal?
not selected. I did go in and I guess get on the wait list just to try it out. But after I learned how they were structuring it, I'm really not enthusiastic at all. I think you have to promote your whole closet, and you you pay per click, not per sale.
Oh gosh, yeah. That's
And that's never going to work because let me tell you, I mean, people are on there clicking all day long, left and right, and it never leads to a sale necessarily. So,
right.
but who knows? They may change that between now and the future. So I don't see it working, frankly, because of the sharing feature. If people are able to promote their listings that are paid, what's the point of sharing your closet?
Right.
Um,
Unless you get
they,
a double dip bounce doing both, you get,
yeah.
your credit for the share, and then you also get top placement for paying the extra, the pay per click model on that stuff. To me, eBay is trying it. And in some categories, it probably makes sense. But
Hmm.
in a lot, like you say, you get 4 or 5 million clicks a month to do 4 or 500 sales. That math is not too pretty.
No, it's not. It's not. So we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing. But I'm not a fan currently. I think they're trying to fix something that isn't broke. And there's definitely other things that I think would help sellers that they could work on that people have been asking for years. And we just haven't seen that from them yet. So, but yeah, promoted closets was not one of them.
Right. What about the Posh shows, the live selling? Have you done any of that? What's your opinion
Yeah.
of that?
Yeah, so I've done 3 shows personally. One was really super successful. It was on vintage Coach bags. And I think that was because I talked about that a lot on my social media, and a lot of my audience came from my social media over to my Poshmark sale that day. So I may do that again, but I don't see myself as a seller that does that regularly. I'm quite introverted, and being on camera is still something that I'm trying to, grow and push myself out of my comfort zone with, but it's not something I like doing all the time.
Yeah.
But I could see myself, if I figured out, certain shows like a vintage Coach bag show did really well for me. Maybe I do that once a month or once every couple
Sure.
of months. And, if people are interested in that, they could follow me on Instagram or TikTok and find out about the shows that way. But I don't see myself doing whatnot. It's just I'm not a person who's like allured by fast money. What's the old maxim, like the slow nickel or the fast dime? I'm the slow. I'm the sorry. It's
It's
the
fast nickel, slow dime.
yeah.
Yes, but yes,
I'm the slow dime for
yes,
sure. My business model is a high profit per unit, or high PPU as I abbreviate sometimes. So that means I'm looking to make more per item and sell less items.
yeah,
Um, and so I'm not a person that is, you know, I like, of course, it'd be great to sell out quick, but if I don't, I'm okay with that because I've put a lot of time and effort into sourcing and in some cases cleaning and rehabbing my items. And, the SEO on my listings is something that I'm constantly tweaking and improving. I put a lot of behind the scenes effort into my things. So I'm looking for a certain return per item, and I just don't see shows being a great avenue for that. They really seem to work well for volume sellers
sure.
and also people who love to be on camera and entertain and have a personality. I think that's fabulous. And if it works for them, great. It's just not something I see for my business.
Yeah, I think it's a another opportunity for sellers to try a different avenue to make some money. And if it's not for me, it's not for me, and that's fine. I'm all for them having that opening. Whatnot to me just seems like a race to the bottom. I haven't spent a lot of time on there, but it seems like it's mostly people trying to get rid of stuff that they shouldn't have bought in the first place. Kind of, like I do a lot of bulk buys, so I could probably get on there and sell, lots of,
Mm-hmm.
15 Clive Cussler books for $1 a piece, but it's not something I want to go through the
Yeah,
the
totally
drama of doing.
understandable.
So talk to me a little bit about the transition into reselling from
Mhm.
fashion. What prompted that, and why did you make that decision to get out of the handbag design and start doing this?
That is a fabulous question. I really wanted to slow down. And I wanted to own my time, and I wanted to see a direct reward for my efforts, which I really wasn't getting in my previous full-time corporate career as a handbag designer. There's a lot of politics, there's a lot of toxic workplace situations. The way they control your time is just frankly like silly. That you may not have work for 8 hours, but you're certainly stuck at your desk for 8 hours.
Right.
And it was almost like being in high school, honestly, but like the adult version.
I joke all
And
the time that life is just middle school on repeat. It's just the people that you're with and the
yeah.
stuff you're doing changes, but the atmosphere is still the same. The gossip and the just whatever.
Absolutely, absolutely. And those companies love to reel you in with like, oh, we're interested in diverse thinking and different types of people, and we need new ideas, and then you end up just doing like something that's 1% different than what you guys did last year because it sold really well. Um, and it didn't align with my values. It was frankly draining the heck out of me. Mentally, my bandwidth was shot every day. I was commuting like an hour plus into work sometimes, which was also very draining.
Yeah.
And I'm learning as I get older that I really appreciate peace. I really appreciate quiet. I really like to work on my own time. And I'll be the first to tell you, I am not the most efficient with my time. You see those resellers like touting hustle culture and like, time is money, and I got 100 things photographed in 2 hours today. And like, no, I wanted to get away from that. I wanted to get out of that. I don't care if it takes me 2 hours to get 10 things done. Like, I got it
Right.
done on my terms, on
Yep.
my time, the way I wanted to do it. And I got to take breaks. which is something that I'm finding is like super important to me. In the corporate world, when you go to work, you're on all day long. With the exception of like the 5 minutes that you go to the bathroom or something, you've got to be on. You've got to. You can't lie down. You can't put your head down at your desk. You can't
Right.
take a nap. You can't. What I did for breaks? I went to the water cooler and filled my water bottle. That
Right.
was my break. And I wanted to get away from that. I just felt like I was designing more and more things that frankly nobody needed. I'm really interested in sustainability, and that was never something that anywhere I went people were interested in. It was always more expensive to do.
Right.
And so for that reason, it was off the table. And reselling really combined a lot of my interests in a really beautiful way. There's a huge amount of sustainability in
Oh, absolutely.
purchasing and selling, as you know, secondhand things. Um, I had all this history and knowledge about fashion that I really was never able to utilize as until I started doing fashion reselling. The history behind pieces, the construction, the different types of fabric, that was all knowledge that I had that I really wasn't using in as a handbag designer. But as a clothing reseller and as an accessories reseller, I can. And what else? I still utilize a ton of my design skills in social media, creating posts, creating videos, which is something that I actually have really enjoyed. Surprisingly,
As long as you're not on camera,
as
though.
long as I am not in that.
It's just the bag or the whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? That's okay. Like I realize like there's different styles of doing
Oh,
things.
absolutely.
And you know what? My style is just a little bit more quieter. I think that was a challenge for me when I first transitioned and I wanted to do social media. I was like, wow, everybody's on camera, everybody's so loud, everybody's so personable and entertaining. And I don't know if that's me. And then I just kept watching and looking at what other people were doing. And I realized, there might be a quiet way to go about this. There might be a slower way to go about this. And it's not other people's way, but it's my way. And that's valid too.
Oh, absolutely.
So I started developing a style, which, if you watch a couple of my reels, you'll kind of get the gist of. People started loving learning about bags. And nobody was talking about them and exclusively. Nobody was sharing, what made them special. How do what's a more expensive construction? Why is this brand good and not that brand good, and all that stuff? And I found people wanted to learn, and I'm happy to share all that I know with the community, especially if it helps people pick up more bags and save them from
Right.
going to the bins or the landfill. Yeah, I'm all for it. I want people to make money from watching my content. That would to me be a success.
Yeah. Now, I noticed you have fairly significant followings on both. It's like 9,500 plus over on TikTok and about 6,500 on Instagram. And you've got a terrific website, by the way,
Oh,
with
thank you.
also just tons of, let me see if I can call that up here. There's all kinds of like tutorial videos and the whole nine. It's really remarkable. One of the things I have in my many pages of notes here is,
Aw.
again, how do you get all of that done? I assume that some of the content is probably repurposed, but
Mm-hmm.
talk to me about your use of social media and the website for that purpose.
Well, the landing page is essentially a blog of what's happening on my Instagram, and it's actually a little bit behind, but it's so that I have a place where I own my content. Last year in February, I got my Instagram account was shut down. I guess it got flagged by a bot or something for like, I don't even know what, but for 3 months, I lost the account until I got it
Oh man.
back. And it was devastating. as I mentioned, I'm an introverted person. And so for me, social media is a wonderful thing. It's a way that I feel community. It's a way that I express myself. It's a way that I connect with others in a safe way on my own terms. And so losing that account was just devastating. And so when that happened, I said, that's it. I'm doing a website. And every couple of months, I cross post things that I've done on Instagram over to my blog so that if I ever lose it again, people have a place to find me. And also, I still have access to those videos, which are things that
Right.
I created. In short, don't trust the social media platforms to safeguard your content. Whatever you
Right.
post on there is really not yours.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
and
it's
so,
too easy to uh,
yeah.
get the ban hammer brought down on you for, you get some troll that just doesn't like you for whatever reason and they report you or Lord knows what. I mean, you see horror stories all the time of even on YouTube, people getting false copyright claims and whatnot. And all of a sudden their channel that they spent years building is taken down.
Yeah, that's essentially what happened to me. And I had already spent like, I guess, 2 years, 3 years building it. Um, so that really birthed the website. And from there, I, started adding things that were needed, like, a resource page. People ask me all the time for links or what am I using? It's all on there under my toolkit page. I have an FAQ. Um, the usual things like about me. I also have a vintage coach catalog resource on there that I am building and encourage people to participate in building. It's an open resource that I really just want people to be able to go over and ID their bag easily by looking at the picture and, some details about each of the bags. So that's something that I add to as well when I can. It's constantly changing and evolving. I'd love to have all vintage Coach bags represented at some point, but we're not quite there yet. Um, and yeah, it's worked out pretty good. It
Now,
seems like
sorry to interrupt. Is it all like a labor of love or is there a financial reward for all of the tutorial videos on TikTok and the amount of time spent on that? Because it doesn't necessarily tie back to getting people to go to your Poshmark page and make a purchase. It's all very informational. Here's how you can make money. Here's how you can do this. What is there a more than a psychic benefit for you from all of that? Or is that enough?
No, great question. I definitely see myself creating revenue streams from this effort that I've been building. I'm not quite there yet, although I do have a consult service for people who need help rehabbing their bags or want an authentication opinion.
But you're
There,
only charging like a couple of bucks for that. Did I see
yeah,
that correctly on
you
your
did.
on your
Yeah, it's
link? Yeah.
actually a steal right now.
I want to go
um,
find a bag just so I can pay the $2 to get some like expert advice.
Well, the authentication is $2. I'm not in any way like an accredited, bag authenticator if there is such a thing. And it's really just a way for me to get a little bit of something back for my time because I do have quite a few inquiries coming in all the time, and it does take a couple of minutes, 5-10 minutes here and there talking to people. So the whole process is done on Instagram. You just purchase whichever service you want and DM me pictures or videos of whatever the bag is and or the accessory. And I'll spend 5 to 10 minutes, giving you my opinion if I think it's real or not and why. Or if you've purchased the other service, we'll talk about like products that you could use to fix whatever issue your bag has or rehab your leather. It's really just a way for me, like I said, to get some kind of return for doing that quite often, and for people to support the page and support the content. I also have a link on there, like buy me tea. Some people
Right.
have done that. Like, they were grateful for something they learned or saw on my page and they sent me a couple bucks, and that's great too. Like I have no problem with those kinds of things. Some people do. Some people don't want to take the time to set it up. But for me, like I engage with the community every day. I'm grateful when I learn from other people and I'm happy to support them using their affiliate links or, giving them a couple bucks for coffee. I don't see why the opposite isn't, can't be
Right.
true for me. And it's totally, if people want to, I give tons of free content on my page that anyone is free to avail themselves of. And you know what? Some people just don't have the time. They don't want to look through it. And that's totally fine too. Like, book my $3 service.
Right.
I'll answer your question pretty much same day. So, we live in a world now where increasingly it's becoming a, what do they say? It's a like a educational economy.
Yes.
Um, I put in a lot of time and money and effort to learn everything that I learned at school. I have 2 BFA degrees, one in accessory design, one in art and illustration. So, yeah, I have a lot of ground to cover. And if
Right.
people would like to pay a little bit for that, they're welcome to.
Yeah. Well, and they absolutely should. Like whatever they say, you hire someone for a service and it takes them 5 minutes and they're like, why was that so expensive? And it's like, because it took me 10,000 hours of education
Yes.
that I had to pay for to be able to do that in 5 minutes. So there is definitely value there. You mentioned the authentication thing, and I see a lot of noise about fakes and counterfeits, particularly it seems like in handbags and fashion generally. How big a problem is it really on these platforms? And do you think the platforms are doing enough to try to stop it?
It is a bigger problem than I think anyone realizes. I don't know that they're doing enough to stop it. I think, eBay certainly has made very intentional moves to do that. And I think they're continuing down that path because, on their platform, any buyer can call something counterfeit and essentially like win the case, right?
Right.
There's a big problem between, nobody can really tell. And this is what I say on my platform. There are third-party authentication services out there. And if you want to do that for your peace of mind, by all means, but do not for a second think that that certificate is going to mean that eBay or Poshmark or any platform will side with you if someone claims your item is inauthentic. And in fact, I get a lot of people in my Facebook group coming over and saying, hey, my listing got zeroed or removed on eBay. It's a vintage Coach bag. Like, can you tell me why this is fake? And a lot of times it's not fake. It's
Right.
just somebody, for whatever reason, has made a claim against the listing, and eBay just takes it down. They don't tell you why. They don't
Right.
require whoever's reporting it, I guess, to provide reasoning or proof that it's inauthentic.
Right. They
And
they don't have to prove that it is not authentic, and you don't get the opportunity to prove that it is. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You can't win.
yeah, exactly. So it's a big problem because though that's money that's not being made on eBay or other platforms. Poshmark is heavily criticized for not doing enough to remove fakes that are obviously fake off their platform, and I do agree with that critique. I think we're going to see more technology developed around combating this problem. And I do want to mention one of the things that's not really talked about is, once you identify a fake, what can we do with it? Truthfully, I have no good answer to that.
Right.
And it's a big problem because then these bags or these shoes or whatever the item is becomes unsellable on a platform. So yeah, you could give it away, but most of the time people just end up donating it to a thrift store because it's a perfectly usable item,
Right.
but it's a fake. It's illegal. You can't sell it. So
Well, and then
thrifts,
the cycle continues because
yes.
I, as a thrifter, go into the thrift store and I see the bag and I think it's for real and I buy it and I put it back on there. That same bag may cycle through the system 2 or 3 times.
Exactly, and it's a big problem that there's just nothing, like, what can we do? Can we upcycle these bags? What if we remove all the logos and then can we sell the bag? Like, it becomes a waste problem.
Right.
And I just want to mention that because people really understand the problem of counterfeits, but nobody talks about the dark side, which is once we confiscate them, identify them. What do we do with them?
Right.
Nobody wants to throw away a perfectly good item, but it's a counterfeit. So
Right.
what do we do? Please,
Yep.
somebody out there, let us know.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Walk me through a day in the life of someone who sells on Poshmark, and where you kind of mentioned some of the other sites you sell on. What are the pros and cons of the different sites that you work with?
Well, I love selling on Poshmark because I'm a small seller and also a fashion seller. And I think Poshmark is still one of the best places to sell fashion, along with Etsy and I would say Depop and Grailed. Um, a day in the life is, my mornings are pretty slow. I'm not a morning person. So I
I'm
like
not
to
either,
get.
but you may have seen on my Instagram today that my cat got me up at 5:30 this morning. So
Oh, did he? Did she?
yes, so I got a lot done today. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, listen, I fluctuate. Sometimes in the summer, I'm up earlier than I am in the winter, but for the most part, my mornings need to be very slow and I ease into things. I like to go out into the garden and, just kind of relax and drink my tea and think about my day and get some sun. And then I come in and I might start working or I might have some lunch. Either way, I'll sit down. I try to do a couple listings a day, 5 to 10 listings if it's like a regular day. And then, I'll see what needs to be done. I'm constantly rehabbing some kind of bag. So I may need to clean bags, I may need to condition. Um, I may have some clothing that needs repairs. I may work on that.
now
Um,
as you're doing those things, are is that content generation for you as well? So I've got to fix this bag or this belt
yes.
or whatever. So I'm going to whip out the camera and do a tutorial on. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone, kind of thing.
Absolutely. You nailed it, Ryan. You asked me earlier how I get all this content done. And frankly, I think I don't make enough compared to others, but a lot of it is just filming on the fly or getting an idea and kind of sticking with it till it comes to fruition and having the foresight to film when things are happening. Um, and also, done is better than perfect. I am by no means like the best cinematographer, the best editor. Sometimes Instagram glitches on me and my captions are not working or the song that's not playing in the right timing that I want. I keep
Right.
moving through whatever those challenges are and on to the next one.
Yeah.
Um, it's
And I
been
think
working for me.
some of that is this is probably a controversial opinion, but I think there are two different types of people in the social media YouTube space. There are those of us who are sellers, that's our primary business, and we also just happen to generate some content. And then there are content creators who use reselling as their subject matter. That's not their primary business. Their primary business is YouTube. You know what I mean? And I
Oh,
think that's a
okay.
very different thing because you're focused on what can I source today that's going to make a good video, regardless of whether or not there's any real potential to sell it. You see that I feel like with the guys that do like the big pallet buys and whatever, or they will buy a bag or something that's damaged because they know it's going to make a good video on how to fix it with not much forethought into what they're going to do with it afterwards, if that makes sense. And like I said, it may be a
Mm.
controversial opinion, but I feel like there's two different camps in that kind of social media YouTube space. What are your thoughts on that? Am I crazy?
No, that's interesting. I haven't thought about it that way for myself, but I do think there are creators out there that do that. Um, if that's your jam, then who am I to
Right.
criticize you?
I don't
But
have any fault with either of those,
yeah.
but you're more concerned about whether the content is useful and informational for somebody that's watching it, and the editing portion of it is kind of secondary, where some of them put out some really flashy videos but they're not necessarily all that helpful. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, actually you hit a very poignant point for me, which is that I take a lot of pride in my content being valuable and useful. People are taking the time to watch it. I don't for a minute take that for granted, and that's probably why I'm not more prolific, frankly. because I don't put something out just because I need to be doing that for the Instagram
Right.
algorithm or the TikTok algorithm. I will be as slow as I need to be, but every video I put out will be some kind of value to the watcher or viewer. And I think that has worked in my favor over time. I think that people that follow me love my content because they know every time they see something from me, it's quality.
And
It's
it's
something,
genuine.
yes, genuine. Being authentic is so important to me. I would value that more over being entertaining, being inflammatory, being controversial. Um, you
But man, it
know,
would be nice to get all those extra views, wouldn't it?
Listen, my goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers or followers on Instagram, but just so that I can get some of the features that come with that, so
Yeah.
that I can provide more for my community and my followers. Not before, it's not any kind of vanity metric for me. Um, and it's been a slow grind, let me tell you. I'm close on TikTok. I'm
Right.
close. But on Instagram, it's hard to figure out like what gets your content seen and
Yeah.
moved. And right now I'm just really depending on people loving what they see and it being, valuable enough that they'll share it with somebody.
Right. I also noticed no content on your YouTube channel. Now, why? oh, was there content there before and you took it down, or why are you not like cross posting the TikTok and Instagram stuff as YouTube Shorts, or was that a conscious decision? Or tell me a little bit about that.
I am frankly a little bit scared of YouTube. I don't know why, because obviously TikTok and Instagram are quite public. Uh, YouTube, I always feel like YouTube really has to be well edited and well thought out. Like it's going to be on there for as long as you leave it up there and everyone
Yeah.
can watch it. So I just, my kind of like done is better than perfect attitude kind of goes out the window. And I feel like I need to really think about this and craft this and make it so that it's a long format that's valuable for people to watch over and over again. And maybe I need to rethink that. And YouTube Shorts is relatively new, I believe. So
Yeah.
it didn't even occur to me that I could take my Instagram reels and
That's
post them on YouTube, right? Could I do that?
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I don't
So there
know.
you go.
It's just,
There's your educational tip for the day. There's a
yeah.
lot of people doing just that. I guess there's even an app where you can remove the TikTok watermark before you transfer it over. And I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know all the details of that. But those formats are obviously all in competition with each other. But the idea of reaching as big an audience as you can, YouTube is still a massive audience. And based on the content I see, particularly in the reselling space, I think you'll be just fine. Your stuff is actually really good. There's so much,
Oh, thank
not to be
you.
whatever. There's just so much mediocre content on YouTube. You see the big performers who have the really well edited videos and the super nice studios with the LED lighting and all that. And you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do that. But there's also the guy with the shaky handy cam or the GoPro in his basement making videos and doing just fine. So, and your content is terrific. So
Thank
that
you.
would be my recommendation. You at least look into that.
Okay. Fair, fair.
Speaking of YouTube and social media, are there particular people that you follow that have been, you think, very helpful for you and that
Mhm.
are helpful for the community? Obviously, you and I
Yeah,
excluded.
yes. I love Cosmic Heather in the reselling space. She does mostly toys and health and beauty. And I do a little bit of health and beauty as well. That's mainly what I sell on eBay these days. She's been very inspirational. Talk about somebody who has a more quiet style, but again, every single one of her videos is so well edited and so thought out. Her information is just super valuable, especially if you are selling. I watch her mostly because I just like her style and I'm interested in
Right.
some of the categories she sells, but she does a great job and she only puts out one video a month. And I love that. I was like, wow, here's a model for me possibly to do YouTube. I think maybe I could get my head around one video a month
Right.
at some point. So love her, great YouTuber to follow, Cosmic Heather. Um, Now, are we talking just YouTube, or can I also talk about like some
Uh,
Instagram
any of
people?
those.
I love Thrift to Travel. She does have some YouTube videos, but she's really active on Instagram, and she does health and beauty as well. And she talks about like traveling to different countries and thrifting and bringing back things that you can't find here so easily. A lot of it's health and beauty. She finds things that are like discontinued or sold out in the States, and she purchases them and brings them back and then resells them for amazing profit. She does Amazon as well, if people are interested in that. She has a Instagram subscription that I hear is really good. So definitely love to shout her out. She's talk about somebody who provides content that's literally made people money. Thrift to Travel is definitely someone who comes to mind. Gosh, there's so many good ones.
Do you watch a ton of like reseller content? Because I
Not
find
on not
myself
on YouTube.
yeah, the longer I've been in the space, it feels like the less of it I actually consume. When I first started, I was watching, I mean, it was just on when I was working. I had somebody on, and now it seems like I've kind of heard all of it. Yeah. Where's the fresh stuff? So,
Gosh, I don't watch a ton of YouTubers, to be honest. And I know you love YouTube from what I've heard on your podcast. It's been hard for me to get into it, and I didn't even learn about reselling until I started watching other people's YouTubes, and I went, oh God, people make money off of this. Like I can do this full time. It's because I
right.
saw other people doing it, but that was, I was so busy in my former corporate life that I really didn't have time to explore YouTube until I left that world and started doing so. So I'm not a huge YouTuber person, but Instagram was always where I found new people and connected with them. And this is, of course, like before TikTok was like the thing that it is now. Um,
What will
and
you do? What do you think you will do if it all worse comes to worse and TikTok is banned in the US? Do you think they'll ever get to that point?
I don't rely on TikTok in any way, and frankly, most of my TikTok is just me recycling content from my Instagram. What I have discovered is that there's really separate audiences. There's people who resonate with TikTok and they like that format and they like consuming content that way. And then there's your Instagrammers, they like consuming content that way. So if it is banned, it's no skin off my back.
Yeah.
I mean, the way things are going in the political arena right now, I would not be surprised if they did ban it, frankly. So if anyone out there's relying or has content on there that they'd like to keep, I suggest getting a website like I did, and just
Right.
repurpose your content over there. Make sure that it's somewhere saved that you have access to, that you own. um, because really you never know. But I thought it was very interesting how there's really two separate audiences. And I find that I have people that find me through TikTok and then people that find me through Instagram. And it's two different worlds almost. Um, it's very interesting. I'd love to see a study done on that, by a scientist someday, because it's really fascinating. Like it's
I-
just two different worlds.
In what way do you find they're different?
You
Because
know,
the initial thing I think of is age breakdowns. It's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Each one is generationally younger,
mm,
and attention spans may be different. Where the TikTok, whatever, 60-second or less format really fits with them. Where Instagram was initially a photo platform anyway. The
yes.
video thing came much later, probably as a result of TikTok taking their lunch a little bit. But what do you see as the differences?
I think that it's the video content versus the static content initially, but I do agree with your generational um like factors. Definitely, that's definitely a factor for sure. When I first started using TikTok, which I was against for a long time, um I didn't like I didn't like the videos coming at me all the time. The sound had to be on. I don't know. Maybe I'm like more sensitive than other people in that way. And even when Reels was new on Instagram, I was like, man, this is annoying. Like, am I gonna
Right.
have to like turn the sound off every time? I don't always want to have things playing. Which, by the way, you should always have captions whether you're doing TikTok or Instagram, for this reason. It is more accessible to people who are hearing impaired, but most people watch things with the sound off because it's just not always appropriate to have sound coming from your
Right.
phone. So
Because most people are working their real jobs and they're trying to, watch TikTok on the under their desk.
yeah, you got it. So for me it was like, wow, all this stimuli coming at me all of a sudden, whereas with Instagram was more quieter, and I could, like, read things if I wanted to. I could watch things if I wanted to or not. I miss the long format videos on Instagram, before Reels. That was cool. That made me feel like, hey, maybe I don't ever need to start a YouTube channel because I can just do it all right here. And I truly believe like that is the strength of that platform, and what I hope they will lean into. You know, I've got family members who are still on like Snapchat. And I'm like, who's using Snapchat these days? Like, come on. Instagram is great. You've got stories, which is essentially Snapchat. You've got Reels, which is
Right.
essentially TikToks. You still got static and carousel posts. And I think you can still even post long format videos like lives over there. So it's, what I'm a big fan of, like, keep it simple, reduce the
Right.
steps. That's why I chose to build my audience and community on Instagram, because everything's there. People will say to me, will you do a YouTube? Will you do a Patreon? Maybe YouTube. You're kind of convincing me now today, but hopefully I'll hit 10K and I can do a subscriber platform on Instagram, because my
Right.
audience is already there, and I don't want to go build assets on Patreon and then finally get
Right. Right.
subscriptions on Instagram and then have to shift everybody over there again. So I really think there's a lot of value as things become increasingly more convoluted, more complex. There's so much information coming at us daily. um, Customers, communities, clients, buyers will appreciate the simplicity of, it's easy, it's all in one place. I already know what I need to do and where I need to go. So that's what I'm kind of strategizing now and thinking will be the route that I'll take with my social media.
So, what long term, what are your plans for social media and the reselling? Where would you like to be in 2 years, 5 years?
I love reselling. It brings me so much joy, but I don't think it's going to be enough without scaling to hit the goals that I want to hit financially. So I am already in the process of adding a second Etsy shop with digital assets, which I'll be talking about on my Instagram probably in a couple of weeks. That's another stream of revenue. I'm very interested in print on demand. I've been listening very closely to all of your feedback and experience on your journey doing print on demand. I think that's another avenue I can explore. YouTube, potentially, making no promises. When I have more time to dedicate to that.
Right.
Um, I still get some income from my freelance gigs, but that's not very steady. So in a couple of years, I'd really like to have an established digital assets and print on demand, making me hopefully like 1 to 2K a month more, plus what I already do in reselling. That would be fantastic. And
Right.
if maybe a little bit down the line, I would consider either doing YouTubes and try to make revenue that way, or I've also been really interested in UGC content creation. It's super hot right now. I've been learning about that on TikTok and Instagram, and I'm thinking like this is possibly something I could do. I already know a lot about creating content for the platforms for myself. Like, is there a way that I could do this part-time from home for other brands and make a couple of grand that way?
Right.
I think eventually that would be fantastic. And that way I get to do everything that I love. I get to resell. I get to, continue to work on my excess baggage brand and social media. And I get to also hit my financial goals.
Right.
Um, and
And you
just
get to
like,
take naps in the
yeah,
middle of the day if you choose. That's for me. That's the beauty of this whole thing. The owning your time.
we are of one mind on that. I can't stress enough how put off I am by hustle culture. I wanted to get away from that. If I wanted to get as much as I could out of every dime, every minute of my day, I would have just
Right.
stayed in my old career. And frankly, they weren't doing a very good job of that anyway. you know, yeah, to me, success is owning my time, taking a nap when I want, taking a day off when I want, you know, completely shifting my plans if all of a sudden it's a beautiful day and I want to go to the
Right.
beach. Or a friend comes to town and wants to do lunch, and I can drop what I'm doing and
Right.
go, and I can just get it done later or get it done tomorrow. Nobody's
Right.
going to criticize me or penalize me. Like, that is success to me. Like,
Yep.
I mean, enjoying the seasons is something that I'm doing more now than I've ever have before, when I was working my corporate job, going to an office every day, sitting in a bus, sitting in the subway.
Right. Right.
Uh, I was so disconnected from the natural rhythms of life. And I've spent the last 3 years reconnecting with all of that. You asked me earlier about my day, and one of the things I'm prioritizing daily is going on walks, my physical health.
Right.
I do yoga now 1 to 2 times a week. Um, I'm looking to do more. I need to get some kind of a weight class in there at some point. But those were things that I tried to incorporate before, but it was so stressful.
Right.
I would go to the gym on my lunch break, and then I'd get flack from my boss because I was, 10 minutes late
Right.
back. And it's like, hey, I was going to a gym class to like stay healthy, get endorphins, release stress, improve my mental health. Like, all those things helped me in my job. But
Well,
yeah,
and
you're making it this like angsty thing that I need to like, oh, better hurry back to work, can't get in trouble. Like,
all the corporate employers are really big about the work life balance and taking care of your mental health, but they do absolutely nothing, most of them, to support you in your efforts to do that. They, like you say, they criticize you, you're 2 minutes late back or whatever. um, this has been fantastic for me. The same kind of thing, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's a 75 degrees and sunny. You know what, there's 5 more listings I want to get done today. I'll do them later. I'm going to go enjoy the day and do whatever. So that has been huge.
absolutely. There's no price for me. I can't imagine going back to work for anyone else in the same capacity that I was before. And believe me, I've had calls, I've had
Sure.
recruiters, wanting me to come back and work for so and so. And I won't even go 3 days a week into the office. If it's two, I'll do two or less, is what I would consider.
Yeah.
But frankly, I don't want to leave the house. It's just the benefits of, listen, the money I save not commuting into the city.
Sure.
And for viewers and listeners, I'm outside of New York City here. Um, that's a significant amount of money. In fact, the New York transit system is set to raise their transit costs again in August. The time that it takes to
I
get
was,
in,
yeah, I was just going to say the
Lord
time is
Almighty.
you're supposed to be there for whatever 9 hours, not counting your lunch, and then you've got an hour or an hour and 10 minute commute each way. All of a sudden, you don't have time to do anything else because it's all tied up with just getting back and forth and working. And now my commute is 30 seconds down the steps to the basement, and here I am, and I can do whatever. It's just, it makes such a difference. I joked, I think, on my show not too long ago, where sometimes I feel guilty. Like, I'll work 6 hours and feel like, man, I should probably work a couple more hours. And then I think, well, I didn't spend any time standing around the coffee machine, BSing with the guys, and, wasting time while I was at work. When I'm here, that
Mm-hmm.
6 hours is all productive work. So I'm getting as much done as I would in an 8 or 9 hour day anyway. And then I go and take my walk.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can be hyper focused for a couple of hours and get a ton done, and then I might be done for the rest of the day. That's not sustainable when you work a 9 to 5 and you're
Right.
supposed to be like productive and working all day long. And nobody cares. Nobody accommodates for that. We're all supposed to be the same robot, going to a job. And I just said enough with that. It's worth the risk to me. And I have people all the time in my family that approach me and they say,
Right.
you're doing it. You have a business. I'm jealous, and I'm just like, you can do this too. Like anyone who wants to can do this. This is available to people.
It is available, but I wouldn't be convinced that everyone is equipped to do it, because I have a friend who shall remain nameless that I worked with, and he took a job with another company, but he was going to be working from home, and he just completely lacked enough self-discipline to stay on task and work from home. He was distracted by the kid and the dogs and the TV and the whatever, and
Mm,
he made it less than 2 months, and he had to go back into an office type environment. So not everybody, whatever, has the skill set or the self-discipline to do this. Everybody certainly has the opportunity, but I think it takes a special breed. You've got to have some guts and belief in yourself to go out
mm.
on your own and, take that risk of sacrificing that steady paycheck, no matter how mindless the job might be.
Yeah, that's true.
Every Friday I'm going to get a check for X amount. And in this business, like we talked about offline, you might go a couple days sometimes and not really make much money. And you just have
Yeah.
to have that self belief that it's going to come, that you're doing the work and making the right moves to make things happen. And not everybody can do that. So kudos to those of you out there, and obviously to you who can make that work.
Fair points, fair points. And you're right. It definitely, especially if you have kids or health insurance is a big factor for you, it may not be as accessible to you. You're absolutely right.
So if you had one mistake that you've made, or one piece of advice that you could give for somebody who's just tuning in and says, and I do want to try this, I want to get into the reselling thing, what would be something that you would tell them to either do or to avoid doing that you would think would
Mm.
help their journey?
I think have a support system is really important. Talk to your partner, talk to your family, your kids, whoever you have in your life, and have a support system because, like you said, there's days that you have really low sales or no sales. There's months that are better than others. There's years that are better than others. It is a masterclass in learning to regulate yourself, learning to deal with uncertainty, uncomfortability. However, the rewards on the other side of that are enormous, valuable. So having a support system that can come in on those days where you've made mistakes, it's not going the way you planned, you haven't made any sales, that's been super valuable and helpful to me. And also, figure out what you can do, what and you're having your toolbox for supporting yourself. Maybe you're having a bad day, there's no sales, you'll go on a long walk, or you'll take yourself out for coffee, or maybe your partner takes you out for dinner, makes you dinner, or maybe it's just a bubble bath and a book. Um, bring out the adult coloring books, put on
Right.
your favorite podcast. It's like having a way to deal with like the uncertainty is super, super valuable because if you can weather the storm,
Right.
you can make it to the other side and you get stronger and stronger every time. I think you would agree as well. When you're building a business, it's hard. It's not easy. Um, it's still work,
Right.
but it's work on your terms. And if that's valuable to you and you can support yourself through the uncertain times, man, it is gold over here.
Yeah. Yep. No, this is easily the best thing I've done in my career, and I've had some arguably some great jobs and whatever, but this has been the most rewarding almost 4 years now,
Yeah.
of my work life. I'm ashamed to say I waited until 53 to figure it out, but here I am.
No, it's never too late.
uh,
And listen, I'm with you. I've never been happier. When I worked my corporate jobs, I was angry all the time. There was all these politics going on. My bandwidth was shot. I have never been happier. My mental health has never been where it is today. I'm more resilient. I'm more able to deal with challenges. I'm more able to have joy. Like, I can enjoy nature. I can make my lunch at home in peace. I am not wasting my bandwidth, like you said, at
Right.
the water cooler or commuting into work or looking busy. That was a big one
Right.
for me. I had to look busy when there was nothing to do. um, I get to do things for me. And I mean, everyone who knows me has remarked on how much I've flourished, how much happier I am in these past
That's
3
awesome.
years. So, if you're able to, I encourage you to go for it.
How did you make the decision? Were you doing this part time, kind of on the side with your thing, and then just jumped in, or did you just decide one day, you know what, I'm done with this? And
Well, truthfully, in good universal fashion, the universe was always pointing me in this direction. I just didn't know it. I've been selling on eBay as where I started back in 2004, and it was a completely different thing back then, as
oh yeah,
many of you know. But I was selling things on the side because I had loans to pay back for school. And between the paycheck that I was getting, there wasn't really much left to live off of after I paid my monthly dues. So I started reselling on the side to make money to do, buy food and do things that I wanted to do. And as a designer, I increasingly had access to samples, showroom samples, sample sales. And
yeah,
sometimes I would end up with like a box of bags or wallets, and I'd be like, well, I don't need 30 of the same wallet. Let me throw these up on eBay for 25 bucks a pop. And
right.
they all sold.
Yep.
And, from then on, whenever I had something, I would sell it. And, it went like that for a few years. And I didn't know that was a way, there was a way to make a living. I didn't know that
Right.
that was, I don't know. Information didn't reach us that fast back
Yeah.
then. So, one year, I was working for a company that closed, and they had a ton of things that they weren't able to sell, and they were giving them away all to the employees. And that should have been the biggest like clarion call to like,
Right.
hey, maybe you should try doing this full time. But I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
I had a ton of stuff from that, and I was slowly selling it on eBay, very casually, a couple listings a month, when I had time on the weekends. And when I was ready to transition out of the corporate fashion world, I was getting samples all the time from the company that I was at. Um, they were making more than they could sell at the sample sales, that we were making more than we could get rid of. So I would just have so many bags, and I started going, you know what, I'm gonna start like intentionally getting more and like storing them in my parents' basement and then just selling them.
Right.
um, and at that point, I started realizing I want to get out of this. I want to do something else. I discovered other resellers on YouTube, and I started realizing, like, what? Goodwill has an outlet. People are doing this full time.
Yeah.
Kids are doing this full time. I
Right.
was in my early 30s at that point, and I'm like, these young kids are making tens of thousands of dollars doing this. Well, like, I could do that.
Right.
And
I kind of
I
had the
let
same experience. I was wanting to get out of the business I was in, and I stumbled down the YouTube rabbit hole of resellers. And again, not to be whatever, I was watching some of them, and I'm like, if these guys can do that with my
yeah.
background, I'm gonna kill it.
Yes, yes. So many of us did that. And I, I like you, I was like, if they could do it, I could do it. And
Yeah.
I didn't have the vision that I have for it now, but I just got into it because I just knew anything's better than what I'm doing
Right.
right now. I paid off my loans. That was a big factor that also allowed me to
Sure.
shift. I didn't feel that pressure of like, I have to have a steady paycheck because I have these loans I need to pay back. I paid them back about the 1 year before. I spent a year saving. And then I left that job, and I was deciding if I was going to do this full time or go back to another job full time. And then COVID hit. That was
Yeah.
early 2020. And that was a weird blessing in disguise for me because I took that as a sign of like, you know what, I'm nobody's hiring. I'm home all day. Like, let's take this and run.
Yep.
And I did, and I just started consuming content like crazy, learning from everybody. I did a mentorship group online with a bunch of other ladies that were amazing. I learned a ton from them, and I slowly started realizing that like I liked doing clothes. I like doing bags too. I thought I was maybe a little tired of that, but the ladies in the group really encouraged me to like lean into that. And that became the focus of my Instagram and my social
Right.
media. And I really learned to find my voice and my niche that way. Um, and things just kind of like spiraled from there. Now I have a consult service. I never thought I'd have that. I am doing these other digital assets that I said I'll be talking about in a couple of weeks. Just it's just funny, but when it's right, when things come
Yeah.
together and they align with your values, you feel it. You feel the flow, you feel
Yeah.
the providence. I don't know, maybe this is a little woo woo here, but like I don't know how else to explain it. Like it feels things are coming together and they're happening for me, and I don't even have to make
Right.
that much of an effort.
Yep.
It's
Well,
amazing.
and you
It's
probably
beautiful.
are. It just doesn't feel like it because you love it. You enjoy what you're. My mom says this to me all the time. You love what you're doing. It doesn't feel like work. You put in the time, rehabbing the bag and making the TikTok and the doing what, but it doesn't. That doesn't feel like a job. It just feels like something you want to do, and it just happens to be the job, and that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I never understood that until now. And listen, I don't want listeners to think that there aren't days where this is work for me, because there are definitely days where I don't feel like doing some of this and I have to do it anyway. But most of the time, the feeling that I have is I'm tired, but I'm so excited to film this
Right.
video. Or I just got back from sourcing and I cannot wait to get these things
Right.
listed. This dress is gorgeous. This
Yep.
bag is going to flip for so much. Like, I can't wait to show my followers this. Like, it's a lot more of that and a lot smaller portion of like, man, I got to get my listings out today, or like, oh,
Right.
I got to do shipping, but all I want to do is like, go out into the garden and
Yeah.
relax. So, to me though, those are all signs that like I'm in the right place and I'm doing something that is fulfilling and meaningful to me. And I really can't ask for more than that. That's what I was hoping to get from my
Yep.
previous corporate career. And, um, that was a very expensive lesson.
Well, but at least you learned it and have moved on into something bigger and better. So, with that, I think that's probably as good a place as any to wrap this up. If you could just remind everybody where they can find you.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok. I have a Facebook page and group, which is free to join. I'm on Grailed, I'm on Depop. You can find me over on my website. And let's see, did I forget anything?
There's so much.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm very active on Instagram. So if people are interested in learning more, definitely head over to the Instagram. And if you are watching my content and you're wondering where I'm listing, Poshmark, everything will definitely be on there. Um, Gosh, what else? I think that's it, Ryan.
All right.
I've had so much fun today
This has
talking
been
to
great.
you. It's been surreal. Please keep doing your podcast. I love it. I look forward to it every week. I know what's going on in the news world because I hear your wonderful recaps. And I share it on my social media all the time because I definitely don't think you are getting the credit you deserve.
I appreciate it.
But just like
Neither do
keep
I.
going. Keep going. That people love your work. I'm telling you. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna get there.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
kind of like you with how you got started. I'm not there's some things that just don't work for me being like super whatever over the top and doing the garage sales and the estate sale videos. That's just stuff that doesn't work for me. This is a
Hmm.
format that I enjoy doing. So, and the people who do consume it seem to really like it. So we're going to keep running with it.
Amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear more.
So I appreciate very much you taking some time out today to share with our listeners. Thank you to everyone who watched. If you got something out of this, please do me a favor. If you like this video, click that
Yes.
thumbs up button. If you're not currently a subscriber to the channel or a follower of the podcast, please consider doing those things as well. And be sure to follow Excess Baggage as well. With that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And now it's time to sell. Thanks, guys. You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.